The storm never stopped on this world. Black clouds moved like heavy beasts across the sky, and thunder spoke with a voice older than time. The ground was covered in mist, thick as smoke from burning metal. No birds sang here. No rivers flowed. Only silence. And the heartbeat of something waiting. Deep in the center of this ruined land stood a throne. It was not built by humans. It was carved from stone as dark as space itself, and it rose from the earth like the bones of a dead god. On that throne sat a giant figure, half alien, half machine. She was a queen, though no crown touched her head. Her crown was pain. 3 swords pierced her chest, glowing faintly, pulsing with cruel light. One sword burned red, one shone blue, and the last was black as shadow. For centuries they had held her prisoner. For centuries no one came close. She was alive. Her eyes sometimes opened, glowing silver in the dark. Her lips sometimes moved, but her voice was too broken to travel far. She waited. She suffered. She dreamed of freedom, but no hand dared to touch the swords until tonight. A streak of fire cut across the sky. A human ship, broken and burning, screamed through the clouds. Its engines failed, and the wreck fell into the valley near the throne. The crash shook the land, and the queen's eyes opened once more. From the wreckage crawled one man. His name was Captain Elias Vayner. His uniform was torn, his face covered with blood and ash, but his spirit was still alive. He dragged himself from the twisted metal, coughing smoke, searching for survivors. There were none. He was alone, but not truly alone. The mist moved. The air grew heavy. Something called to him, not with sound, but with a pull inside his chest. Step by step, Elias followed the feeling until he stood before the throne. He froze. There she was. A woman taller than any human, her skin pale like moonlight, her hair black as the void. The 3 swords in her heart glowed, humming like dying stars. Chains of light bound her arms and legs, anchoring her to the throne. Elias raised his weapon, his hand shaking. But then he saw her face. It was not cruel, not monstrous. It was tired. Endless sorrow lived in her eyes, her lips moved. No sound came. Then again, this time a whisper reached him, broken and weak. Human. Elias lowered his weapon, his heartbeat racing. You can speak? The human, she whispered again. Free me. Her voice was strange, like music and metal blended into one. Elias stepped closer. The air around the throne burned his skin, but still he walked. His eyes locked on the first sword, the red one. It pulsed brighter when he neared, as if it knew him. What are you? Elias asked, the queen's eyes filled with pain. Prisoner? Of empires. 3 swords. 3 betrayals, long. I wait. Elias touched the red sword. Heat stabbed his fingers, but he did not let go. The metal felt alive, like it was breathing. The queen gasped, her chains rattling. You, she whispered. Only you can touch them. Lightning struck the valley. The ground split, shaking beneath Elias's boots. He pulled his hand back, but the sword's glow clung to his skin like fire. He stared at her, his mind torn between fear and pity. This being could be a monster, or a victim. Which was true? Why me? Elias asked. The queen's voice trembled. Human blood? Pure, unmarked. Others tried. They died. You, different. He looked at the red sword again. The hum grew louder, like it wanted to be freed. Elias clenched his jaw. If I free you, what happens? The queen's eyes shone with both hope and terror. Freedom, or end of all? Choice. Yours. The ground shook again. From the shadows, machines stirred. Ancient guardians shaped like beasts of iron. Their eyes lit with crimson fire as they marched toward the throne. Elias knew he had no time. If the machines killed him, her chains would never break. He stepped forward, wrapped his hands around the red sword's hilt, and pulled. The sword resisted. Heat tore through his veins, burning like liquid fire. His vision blurred, and the queen screamed, not in anger but in shared pain. The sword moved, slowly, inch by inch. Pull! She cried. Her voice shook the air like thunder. Elias roared and pulled with all his strength, and then the sword came free. A shockwave burst across the valley. The machines collapsed into dust. The queen's chains cracked. Her scream rose higher, echoing into the clouds. Elias fell to his knees, holding the sword that burned like a living flame. The queen's silver eyes locked on him, blazing brighter than stars. You have begun, she whispered. Her voice was no longer weak. It was powerful, dangerous. The ground split wider. The skies tore open. Elias realized too late. This was only the beginning. The world was not the same anymore. When Elias pulled the red sword free, the storm screamed louder than ever. The sky cracked open, bleeding light like shattered glass. The valley burned with fire and smoke, and the ground itself shook as if the planet's heart was breaking. And at the center of it all, she rose. The alien queen no longer sat in silence. Her body, chained for centuries, shivered as if life had just returned. The broken chains of light glowed weak, snapping one by one. Her chest bled silver fire where the sword had been. Her voice, once a whisper, now thundered across the valley. "You have touched destiny, human. There is no turning back." Elias staggered to his feet, the red sword still in his hand. It pulsed like a living heart, burning his skin, but he refused to let go. His breathing was heavy, his eyes wide with both fear and awe. "I don't even know what I've done," Elias muttered. The queen's silver eyes glowed bright, fixing on him. "You have done what none dared. You broke the first chain. Now the galaxy will feel me again." Before Elias could answer, the valley roared with new life. From cracks in the earth, metal creatures crawled out, guardians of ancient design, their bodies sharp as blades, their eyes burning red, dozens of them marching like soldiers of a forgotten empire. Elias raised the sword, but his hands trembled. The weapon was heavy, its power strange. Could he even fight with it? The queen stood taller, her voice cutting through the chaos. "The sword answers only to you. Wield it or both of us die!" The machines charged. Elias gritted his teeth and swung. To his shock, the sword moved faster than he thought possible. A red arc of fire burst out, slicing 3 machines in half. Sparks flew, their bodies collapsing into dust. Elias froze for a moment. What is this?" The queen's lips curved into something close to a smile. "A gift of blood. A weapon of the betrayers. Now turn to your hand." More machines attacked. Elias swung again and again, the sword responding like it had waited centuries for this moment. Each strike burned the mist, each blow shattered metal. But the guardians kept coming, endless, relentless. He grew weaker. His arms shook. His breath grew short. The queen lifted her hand, though still chained by the 2 remaining swords. Energy pulsed from her palm, silver and blinding. The air shook as a wave of power slammed into the machines, throwing them back. Her voice rang like a war drum. "You cannot fight them all. Pull the second sword, human. Only then will I have strength enough to destroy them." Elias turned, his heart racing. His eyes fell on the blue sword still buried in her chest. It glowed cold, as if mocking him. He shook his head. "Last time nearly killed me." "If I pull another one, then you will burn," she said sharply. "But if you do not, you will die." The machines closed in again, surrounding the throne. Their claws clanged against stone, their eyes glowing brighter. Elias stepped toward the queen, staring at the blue sword. The air around it froze his skin. The red sword in his hand pulsed, as if warning him not to try. "Why are these swords in you?" Elias demanded. His voice was low, desperate. "Why should I risk my life for you?" The queen's face darkened with old sorrow. 3 empires feared me. They united, though they hated one another, and forged these blades. Each one a prison, each one a chain. They cut me from the stars. They bound me to silence. For centuries I waited. For centuries I suffered. And now, her eyes pierced him. "Now you come. Human blood untainted. You are the key." Elias swallowed hard. His hand trembled as he reached for the blue sword, but before he could touch it, a shadow moved above. Elias looked up, and his heart froze. The sky was no longer empty. A fleet of ships had broken through the clouds. Dark triangular vessels hung like vultures above the valley. Their cannons glowed, preparing to fire. The queen's voice filled his mind, sharper than any blade. "They come for me. They come for us both. Pull the sword or be ash." The ground quaked as the ships fired. Blazing beams of energy struck the valley, ripping the earth apart. Elias dove to the throne, shielding himself with the red sword's light. The blast scorched everything around them, but somehow they survived. The queen screamed, her body convulsing with pain from the remaining swords. Chains tightened, pulling her back. Elias pressed his hand against the blue sword's hilt. The cold seared his flesh, freezing his bones. His vision blurred. His heart pounded like it would break. He looked at her face one last time, pain, hope, fear. His voice was a whisper. "If this kills me, then you better be worth it." He pulled. The blue sword resisted, fighting him, draining his strength. His breath turned to ice in the air. His veins burned with frost. The queen's scream shook the heavens. The ships above fired again. The ground tore apart, and then the sword slipped free. The explosion of light was like a new sun being born. The machine shattered into dust. The air howled with power. The queen's chains shattered once more. Her body glowed, energy surging like a storm of stars. Elias collapsed, barely conscious, the blue sword in his hand, frost crawling up his skin. The queen looked down at him, her silver eyes blazing with fire and ice together. Her voice was no longer broken. It was command, it was thunder, it was destiny. You have freed the second chain, human. Now the war begins. Above them, the alien fleet trembled as the queen rose higher, her power cracking the sky. Cliffhanger. The second sword is free, and the galaxy has just awakened. The sky was breaking. The moment the second sword left her chest, the planet screamed like a dying animal. Clouds twisted into storms of fire and ice. Lightning tore the heavens apart. The earth split open, spilling rivers of glowing stone, and in the middle of the storm, she awakened. The alien queen no longer looked weak. Her body glowed with raw power. Her chains shattered into sparks. Her hair flowed like smoke, her silver eyes burning with both fury and sorrow. For the first time in centuries, she stood. Captain Elias lay on the ground, shivering from frost that still clung to his skin. His breath was weak, his vision blurred. He had freed her, but at a terrible price. The queen looked down at him. For a moment, her face softened. You should not live after touching two swords, yet you endure. Elias coughed, forcing himself to sit. The blue sword still burned with cold fire in his grip. You better not waste what I just gave. Before she could answer, the sky filled with sound. The alien fleet above the valley moved into formation. Dozens of black warships spread their wings, glowing with weapons ready to fire. The queen raised her head. Her voice cut the air like thunder. They remember me. They fear me, and now they come. The fleet unleashed its fury. Beams of plasma lit the sky, falling like a storm of suns. The valley shook as explosions swallowed mountains and burned rivers to ash. Elias shielded himself, bracing for death, but the queen raised her arms. A shield of silver light burst from her, wrapping around both of them. The firestorm struck, but the shield held. Her voice trembled with rage. These are the children of the betrayers. They smell my freedom. They want my chains back. Elias stared up at the ships. His heart pounded. What happens if they win? Her silver gaze locked on him. If they win, human, you will not live to regret helping me. The shield flickered. The power of two swords burned inside her, but the third still held her soul in chains. She could not fight the fleets alone. Not yet. Then Elias saw something strange. The alien ship stopped firing. One vessel descended, hovering above the valley. From its belly, beams of light stretched to the ground. Figures appeared, tall, armored soldiers with faces hidden behind masks of glass. They marched with perfect unity, carrying weapons that pulsed with dark energy. Their voices echoed in a tongue Elias did not know, but the queen understood. Her eyes narrowed. They kneeled before me, and it was true. The soldiers dropped to one knee, their weapons pointed down. They chanted a single name in unison, a name that made the valley tremble. Cyranthia. Elias looked at her, confused. That's you, isn't it? She nodded slowly. My true name. Forgotten by time. But they remember. The soldiers lifted their weapons again, not at her, but at Elias. His stomach dropped. Wait, what the hell is this? The queen's face turned hard. They see you as danger. To them, you are a thief who touched the sacred swords. They believe only my kind may wield such power. To them, you must die. Elias tightened his grip on the blue sword, his body still weak. Figures. The leader of the soldiers stepped forward. His mask slid open, revealing skin like molten bronze and eyes like burning coals. His voice thundered across the valley. Great Queen of Chains, we rise at your return. Free us, command us. But this human cannot remain. His blood stains your glory. Elias stepped back. His sword pulsed, ready for battle. So that's it, huh? Free you and I get stabbed in the back? The queen did not answer. She stared at the soldiers, her face unreadable. For a moment, Elias wondered if she would let them kill him. But then her voice entered his mind, soft and urgent. Do not fear. Only you can free me. Only you can pull the last sword. Without you, they will chain me again. Elias clenched his teeth. He wanted to trust her, but could he? She was powerful, dangerous, and mysterious. And yet, without her, he would already be dead. The soldiers raised their weapons. The leader's eyes glowed hotter. "Choose, my queen, him or us." The queen raised her hand. Her voice was cold as winter steel. "No one commands me. Not you, not your empires. Not anymore." Her silver light exploded outward, knocking the soldiers back. The valley trembled as her power cracked the ground. Elias looked at her in shock. "So whose side are you on?" Her gaze fell on him again, sharp as blades. "Yours, human. For now." The soldiers regrouped, their leader roaring. "Then you choose the human over your own people. You will regret this, Saranthia." The queen's voice shook the sky. "I am no one's prisoner, and he is no one's prey." The soldiers charged, weapons blazing. Elias raised the sword standing at her side. His body screamed in pain, but he refused to fall. If they wanted to kill him, they would have to fight for it. The battle began. Blades of energy clashed with arcs of red and blue fire. Soldiers fell, dust swallowing their bodies. Yet for each one that fell, more came. Elias struck again and again, but exhaustion ate at him. His arms were heavy. His chest burned. The queen fought like a storm-given flesh. Yet even she was slowed by the third sword still chained in her heart. The enemy leader marched through the chaos, his weapon glowing like a small star. His voice roared across the battlefield.
"Kill the human!"
"Take the swords." "Chain the queen again." Elias staggered, barely holding his weapon. He looked at her, his voice weak but steady. "If we don't pull that last sword, we're both dead." Her eyes flared with desperate fire. "Yes, but the last sword is different. To pull it is to give your life." Elias froze. The weight of her words crashed down. The first two nearly destroyed him. The last would finish him. Still, he lifted his blade. "Guess I don't get easy choices." Above them, the fleet prepared to fire again. The sky glowed red with death. The queen's chains rattled, pulling her back once more. And Elias knew. The third sword was waiting. Cliffhanger. Elias must decide. Pull the final sword and die, or watch the galaxy burn. The sky was fire. Alien warships circled above, their weapons glowing like dying suns. The valley cracked open, spilling rivers of molten stone. Every breath was smoke, every sound was thunder. The world itself seemed ready to break apart. And in the center stood Elias and the queen, Saranthia. Her body glowed with burning light, but two swords still chained her. The black one. The blue one he had already pulled. And deep in her chest, the final blade remained, darker than shadow, pulsing with power that made even the stars tremble. The alien soldiers closed in, weapons raised. Their leader's voice echoed across the battlefield. "Kill the human. Chain the queen. The galaxy must not see her free again." Elias staggered, still holding the blue sword. His body ached, every nerve screaming. Yet he forced himself to stand. "They won't stop until you're in chains again." The queen's voice rang like thunder. "Then they will fall. But I cannot end them while the last sword holds me." She looked at Elias with eyes of silver fire. "Only you can take it. But know this, if you touch the third sword, it will kill you." Elias felt his stomach twist. He remembered the burning pain of the red sword, the freezing agony of the blue. The third would be worse. Deadly. Still, the enemy ships above charged their weapons again. Another strike and the valley would be dust. Elias clenched his jaw. "So I pull it, and I die. If I don't, we both die. Some choice." Saranthia's chains rattled, glowing tighter, pulling her back against the throne. Her voice lowered, filled with something strange, something almost human. "Elias, I would not ask this of you, but the galaxy left me no mercy. Only you can decide if my story ends here." The soldiers advanced, their weapons hissing. Elias looked up at her. For a moment he saw not a queen, not a monster, but a prisoner who had suffered centuries of silence and pain. And somehow she looked afraid, not of death but of being bound again. He gripped the sword tighter. His voice was a whisper. "Guess I'll have to gamble." Before he could move, the soldiers attacked. Blades of light clashed against his weapon. Sparks exploded. Elias struck back, fire and ice bursting from his swings, cutting through the enemy ranks. Saranthia roared, her partial power slamming into the soldiers like a storm. But the fleet above fired once more. A beam of energy crashed into the valley, shaking the ground, throwing Elias against the throne. The black sword pulsed. Its glow spread across the stone like veins of darkness. Elias's eyes locked on it. His hand shook. He knew the moment he touched it, his life would end. But then, he heard voices, whispers, not from Saranthia, not from the soldiers. From the sword itself. It spoke inside his head, cold and sharp. "Pull me, human, free her. Give me your life and she will rise." Elias clenched his teeth. His heart pounded. He felt the pull stronger than any chain. "Don't listen," Cyranthia shouted. Her voice cracked with urgency. "The black sword lies. It was forged from betrayal itself. It will drink your soul to the last drop. If you pull it, you may never return." Elias pressed his back against the throne, panting. "So what? You want me to just stand here and wait for death?" Her chains rattled again, sparks flying. Her eyes burned with silver fire. "I want you to live, human. Even if I must die chained, I would not see you consumed." For a second, Elias almost laughed. "Funny, I thought you needed me." "I do," she said softly. "But I did not expect to. Care." The word struck him harder than the enemy's weapons. Above, the warships prepared their final strike. Their cannons glowed brighter than the sun. The alien leader raised his weapon, pointing directly at Elias. "This is the end," the leader roared. "The human dies. The queen kneels once more." The soldiers surged forward. Elias gripped the hilt of the blue sword, swinging with all his strength. His body burned with exhaustion. He could not hold forever. He glanced at the black sword again. Its whispers grew louder, its power calling to him. And then something strange happened. The blue sword in his hand pulsed, and for a moment, he saw something. An image. A memory, not his own. A laboratory. Scientists forging the swords. Blood, not alien but human, mixed into the steel. His people had been part of the chains all along. He staggered back in shock. "They used human DNA to make these swords," Zaranthia's eyes widened. "You saw it too." He pointed the blade at her, his voice shaking. "That's why only I can pull them. Because they were made with us in mind. My blood is the key." The ground split wider, fire consuming the valley. The sky boiled with lightning. The black sword pulsed again, its voice rising. "Take me, human. Be my sacrifice. Her freedom. Your grave." Elias raised his trembling hand toward the hilt. His heart raced, his vision blurred. He could feel death waiting on the other side. The soldiers closed in. The fleet fired. The throne shook with the force of the attack, and Elias wrapped his hand around the black sword. Cyranthia screamed. "No!" The blade's power surged into him like a storm of shadows. His veins turned black. His breath caught in his throat. The sword demanded everything. Elias pulled. But before it could leave her chest fully, he collapsed. His body writhing with pain, his heart on the edge of stopping. The sword was still buried halfway. The soldiers cheered. The fleet prepared to strike again. And Cyranthia looked down at Elias, her eyes blazing with fury and fear. She was so close to freedom, but the human who carried the key was dying before her. Cliffhanger. Elias has touched the final sword, but will he live long enough to pull it free? The sword almost killed him. Elias's body lay twisted on the ground, his skin burned black where the shadows had touched him. His breath came in shallow gasps. His hand still clung weakly to the hilt of the black sword, but his strength was gone. Cyranthia's chains rattled violently as she tried to move. "Human!" Her silver eyes blazed, fear in them for the first time. "Do not give yourself yet. You are not ready." But Elias could not hear her clearly. His mind swam in darkness. In that darkness, whispers echoed. "Die for her. Be the sacrifice. Your death is her freedom." His vision blurred. He could not tell if the voice belonged to the sword, the galaxy, or himself. The alien soldiers closed in, circling the throne like predators. Their leader stepped forward, his molten bronze face glowing with cruel pride. "Look at him. A fragile creature, unworthy of the chains he touches. You put faith in a dying human queen, he is weak. We are strong. Release the swords to us and we will restore your throne." Zaranthia's lips curled in fury. Her voice cut the air like thunder. "You dare call yourself strong? You kneeled in fear the moment you saw me. You do not serve me. You serve the chains." The soldiers did not falter. They raised their weapons higher, aiming at Elias. Her eyes widened. "No!" But it was too late. A spear of light shot from the leader's weapon, striking the ground inches from Elias's head. The soldiers laughed, their chant filling the valley. "Kill the human. Kill the thief. The swords belong to us." Cyranthia's silver glow flared, blasting half the soldiers into ash. But the effort drained her. 2 swords gone had given her strength, but the last still bled power from her. She could not unleash her full fury. Not yet. Elias stirred weakly, opening his eyes. His voice cracked. You lied to me. Zaranthia looked down at him, shocked. What? His voice was faint but sharp. You said I was the only one who could free you, but they seemed to know another way. Her expression darkened. She spoke softly as if ashamed. They cannot free me. They can only keep me chained. Their way is not freedom. It is slavery again. Elias groaned, his body shaking. He wanted to believe her, but doubt twisted inside him. Was he her savior? Or just her tool? The alien leader roared, raising his weapon high. Strike the human down! With his death, the swords will be ours again. The soldiers charged. Zaranthia raised her arm, blasting silver fire, but her chains dragged her back. She could not stop them all. Elias lifted the blue sword weakly, swinging at shadows too weak to stand. And then, betrayal came. Not from the soldiers, from the sky. The fleet above shifted, its largest ship descending lower. But instead of firing on Zaranthia, it opened its bay doors. A voice echoed across the battlefield deeper than thunder. Betrayers of the betrayers. Stand down. The human belongs to us. Zaranthia froze, her eyes narrowing. No, not them. Figures dropped from the ship. They were not like the armored soldiers. These beings were different, tall, robed in white metal, their faces hidden behind masks of smooth silver. They did not kneel. They did not chant. They walked as if they owned the battlefield. The alien soldiers immediately lowered their weapons and bowed. Even their leader fell to one knee. Elias forced himself to raise his head. Who are they? Zyranthia's voice was low, filled with hatred. The architects. The ones who forged the swords. The ones who caged me. The true betrayers. The silver-masked leader spoke again, his voice cold and sharp. The human has served his purpose. He has touched the blades. His blood has proven worthy. We will finish what he began. Elias's blood ran cold. Finish what I began? The architect raised a long staff of glowing crystal. We will remove the final sword ourselves. The human need not survive. His life is waste, Zaranthia roared, her chains rattling. You cannot touch the last sword. Only he can. That is why you needed his kind. The architect tilted his head. We do not need him alive to use him. His blood is enough. Elias's body shook. He realized the truth. He was never just a savior. He was the key, and keys could be broken once they opened the door. The soldiers grabbed him, forcing him to the ground. He struggled, but his strength was gone. They pinned him, pressing his arm against the black sword. The blade pulsed, hungry for his blood. Zyranthia's scream split the sky. Stop, he is mine! Her power exploded, blasting soldiers away, but the architects raised their staffs. A cage of white light formed around her, sealing her to the throne. Her strength dimmed, trapped again. She looked at Elias, desperation in her eyes. Fight them! You must not give in. The architect leader raised his staff, pointing at Elias. The human ends. The queen returns to her prison. The galaxy will remain in chains. Elias's vision blurred, his heart pounding. He felt the sword's hunger growing stronger as the soldiers forced his hand toward the hilt. The whispers returned, louder, colder. Give me your life, human. End your struggle. Free her with death, he gasped, looking at Zaranthia. Her face was filled with rage and sorrow, her silver eyes begging him not to surrender. And then something inside Elias shifted. He stopped struggling. Instead, he smiled. The architect leader froze. What is this? Elias's voice was weak but steady. If my blood is the key, then I choose where it leads. His hand closed on the sword. His blood burned like fire. The valley trembled. Zaranthia screamed his name. Elias! The architects shouted in alarm, their cage of light shaking. The black sword pulsed, brighter than ever. And then, everything went dark. Cliffhanger. Elias chooses to act, but his decision may doom or save them all. The world turned black. For a moment, Elias thought he had died. No sound, no air, no fire, only silence. Then, from that silence, a voice whispered, not Zaranthia, not the soldiers, not the architects, it was the sword. You touched me, human. You gave me blood. Now I claim you. Die, and she will live. Elias tried to move, but his body was heavy as stone. His mind drifted through shadows. through endless screams not his own. He saw memories, wars fought across galaxies, chains forged in secret halls, Cyranthia bound while empires cheered. The Black Sword had watched it all. It had fed on it all, and now it wanted him. Pull me free, little human. Pull me and I drink your soul. Her freedom is your grave. Elias gasped, forcing his eyes open. The valley was still there. The architects loomed around him, silver masks gleaming. Soldiers pinned him against the throne. The queen was trapped in the cage of light, her chains tightening once more. Elias, she cried, her voice breaking. Resist it. Do not give yourself. But the Black Sword pulsed with every beat of his heart. It wanted to be free. It wanted him to die. The architect leader stepped closer, his voice cold. Let it consume him. His death is the final key. When he is gone, the queen belongs to us again. Elias's vision swam. His hand tightened on the hilt. He felt his life pouring out of him, feeding the sword. He knew if he pulled harder, it would end him. Yet deep inside, a question burned. Was freedom worth his life? The whispers clawed at his mind. Yes, die for her. She is eternal. You are nothing. But another voice pushed back. Not loud, but steady. His own, I am human, and that means I choose. He forced his head towards Cyranthia. She was on her knees inside the cage, her silver eyes glowing with desperation. For once, the queen who had faced empires looked afraid. Not for herself. For him, Elias, she whispered. Please, live. The sword hissed in his mind. She lies. She needs you dead. You are a tool. Nothing more. Elias's grip shook. His blood dripped onto the blade and the sword drank greedily. His skin blackened, his breath slowing. Death waited only inches away. And then, the blue sword in his other hand pulsed. For the second time, Elias saw visions. Not of war. Not of chains. But of Earth, his home, his people. A little girl laughing in a field. A mother's hands cooking a meal. Strangers helping each other in fire and flood. Humanity was fragile. But it fought. It endured, the whispers faltered. The Black Sword hissed in anger. Do not look at them. They are weak. They break. Only I am eternal. Elias's lips curved in a weak smile. Maybe we break, but we stand back up. That's what makes us human. The architect stepped forward, staffs glowing. Enough, finish the pull. Let him die. Cyranthia slammed against her cage, silver fire burning her hands. No, he is mine. The sword roared in Elias's head, a storm of voices. Pull me, die. Die for her. Elias bared his teeth, his last strength gathering. No, I'll free her, but on my terms. With a scream, he pulled the sword. Not straight out, but twisting, breaking the ritual that had been planned for centuries. The black blade fought him, screaming with fury. Shadows pouring into his veins, pain tore through him. His body convulsed. His vision went white. And then, the sword came free. The world exploded. A wave of black and silver fire tore across the valley, obliterating soldiers, shattering ships in the sky. The architects staggered, their staffs cracking under the force. The cage around Cyranthia shattered like glass, and she rose. Free at last, her body glowed brighter than a star. Her chains were gone. Her voice shook the heavens. I am no prisoner. I am Cyranthia, queen of the broken throne. The alien fleet burned in orbit, their vessels crumbling like ash in a storm. The ground split wider, swallowing entire mountains. But amidst the chaos, Elias fell. The black sword dropped from his hand, its glow fading. His body was broken, his skin pale, his heartbeat weak. He had given too much. Cyranthia turned, her silver eyes locking on him. For the first time, her face was not proud, not angry. It was filled with grief. She knelt beside him, lifting him into her arms. Foolish human, you gave your life for me. Elias tried to smile, his voice barely a whisper. Guess I finally pulled it off. His eyes closed. Cyranthia trembled. For centuries she had endured chains. For centuries she had waited in silence. But no chain had ever hurt her as much as this moment. The architects staggered back, their leader raising his broken staff. It matters not. The queen is free, but the key is dead. Without him, she is still ours. Cyranthia rose, holding Elias's limp body close. Her silver eyes burned hotter than any star. Her voice shook the battlefield. No, he freed me. He chose me. And now I choose him. Silver fire roared from her, blasting the architects into dust. Their ship cracked and fell from the sky. The valley burned brighter than a sun, and as the storm raged, she whispered down to the human in her arms, "You will not die. Elias, I will not allow it." Her power poured into him, her life force burning away to save his. But even she did not know if she gave too much, would she live at all? Cliffhanger. Elias is dying, and Xyranthia risks her own life to save him. Who will survive? The valley burned like a dying star. Mountains collapsed into fire. The sky tore apart as the last of the alien fleet fell in flames. The ground was cracked and broken, glowing with rivers of molten stone. The world itself seemed to scream as if it knew a queen had returned. At the center of the chaos stood Xyranthia, no longer chained, no longer silenced. Her body glowed with power so fierce that even the stars might have bowed. Her silver eyes blazed with triumph and sorrow. In her arms lay Elias. His body was limp, pale, his chest barely rising. He had freed her, but at the cost of himself. His blood had awakened the final sword. His will had broken the chains. Now he was fading away. "Elias," she whispered. The name trembled in her throat, strange and fragile. "You cannot leave me now. Not after all you've done." Her hands burned with silver fire as she pressed them against his chest. Power poured into him. A river of her own life force. At first, nothing happened. His heart was still. His body cold. "Come back," she begged, her voice cracking. "Come back, human. You are mine." Then, his chest rose. A weak breath. A spark of life. But as his heart beat again, her glow dimmed. Each drop of power she gave stole from her own strength. Her body shook, her silver eyes flickering. "Stop," Elias's weak voice rasped. "Don't kill yourself." Xyranthia smiled faintly, tears of light sliding down her cheeks. "I have waited centuries for freedom. Do you think I will let the one who gave it die?" He tried to speak, but she silenced him with a look. Her silver fire flowed into him, knitting his broken body, driving out the sword's poison. Slowly his color returned. His eyes opened fully. "Why?" he whispered, her gaze softened. "Because for the first time in my long life, someone chose me. Not for power, not for conquest, but because it was right." The ground shook again as the last of the architect's ship crashed into the mountains. Dust and fire filled the air. But the battle was over. The empires that had betrayed her would tremble when they learned of her return. Xyranthia rose, still holding Elias close. Her voice boomed across the ruined valley. "Hear me, stars. Hear me, empires. The Queen of Chains is broken no more. I am free." Her silver fire surged upward, blasting through the clouds. Across the galaxy, hidden machines, ancient sensors, and sleeping warlords felt it. The galaxy knew Xyranthia had awakened, but the Queen herself no longer looked at the sky. She looked at the human in her arms. Elias coughed, his strength slowly returning. "Guess you're free now." "The galaxy's problem, not mine." She tilted her head, amused. "No, human. The galaxy is ours now," he blinked. "Ours?" Her silver eyes shone with a strange, gentle light. 3 empires pierced my heart. They betrayed me. They thought no one would ever break my chains. They were wrong. You did. A single human. She lowered her head, her forehead touching his. "And so I choose. Not the empires. Not the architects, you. I will walk with your kind. Fight for your kind. Because one human saw me not as a weapon, but as a soul." Elias swallowed hard. For a moment he could not find words. Then he managed a faint smile. "So you're mine now?" Her lips curved into the closest thing to a smile she had ever known. "No, we are each other's." The valley wind carried her voice as she declared, 3 swords pierced my heart, but one human pulled them free, and for that I will claim him, as he claimed me." Above them, the last flames of the burning fleet faded into the night sky. The storm ended. The world grew quiet for the first time in centuries. Elias tried to stand, but his legs shook. Xyranthia supported him with ease. "Where do we go now?" he asked. She looked at the horizon, her silver eyes blazing. "To the stars. To your people. They will see what you did. They will know what one human accomplished, and the empires." Her voice hardened, steel beneath the softness. "They will kneel or burn." Elias sighed, shaking his head. "Not exactly the peaceful ending I wanted." Xyranthia glanced down at him. "You freed me. You hold my heart. If you wish mercy, I will give it. If you wish war, I will give that too. My will is now bound to yours." He stared at her, stunned. The most powerful being in the galaxy, offering her loyalty to a single human. Finally, he smirked, exhaustion clear in his voice. Guess we'll figure it out together. Xyranthia's voice lowered, softer than ever before. Together. The queen who once ruled stars and shattered empires bowed her head, not as a prisoner, not as a conqueror, but as an ally, and across the galaxy, whispers began. Of a human who freed the queen of chains. Of a man who changed the balance of power with nothing but will. Of humanity's claim to the stars. Final line. HFY punch. 3 empires pierced her heart. 1 human pulled the swords free and claimed a queen and a future for all of humanity.